All right, we are back. Welcome back for another episode of FutureProof Use podcast. Go F yourself. As always, my name is Dan Yu. I'm your co-host, and alongside my colleague, Aaron Makelky.
What's
What's
up,
happening,
everybody?
Aaron? Good to see you. John Lovig is off this week, and so we will miss his insights, but we are here as always to talk about job search trends, what's the latest, and tell you a couple stories about some of the things that we've heard going on in job search and career pivots. So I think one of the hot topics that we've all seen in the marketplace, in the news, is that everyone is using AI, right? So to not maybe, but to use it for resume writing and customizing your resume and writing your profile and customizing your cover letters. And so we know that there's a lot of mediocrity using, let's say, a free AI, right, Aaron?
Yeah, a lot of blending in with everybody else who's doing the exact same thing with the exact same tools.
Yeah. So if everyone's using the same tools to take a job description and then customize my resume for this job description, they're all going to sound exactly the same, and they're all going to sound quote unquote perfect. But how do we really know if it's all perfect or not, right?
Yep. And it's, to me, that strategy is the best way to guarantee you're stuck in the middle of the pile, indistinguishable from even the bad ones. Like the bad might stand out more than the well done or well written.
Right. And a couple of weeks ago, there was an article about how some people would actually insert like a spelling mistake, right, on purpose so that it doesn't seem so perfectly AI, right?
Yes. And incorrect punctuation marks or not capitalizing the first letter of a proper noun. There's all sorts of weird tweaks. I mean, I was just watching one that somebody on Twitter wrote this long form post, and it had many spelling mistakes and was lowercase, and a person scanned it with an AI detection tool, and they're like, "But it can't be AI. It's got misspellings." And most of us who've used AI are like, "Yeah, you could totally prompt AI to put random mistakes.
Right.
That doesn't mean it's human and not AI generated." That's such a simple understanding of, it could be your cover letter, it could be your resume. That doesn't mean anything unless somebody's just in a hurry and not really discerning anything about your writing.
Right. And if you were to use like a voice, right, a voice tool, it would actually come out pretty good, right? Because it wouldn't have the spelling mistakes if you're using the voice tool. So it's definitely either on purpose or somebody who's just in a rush.
Yeah. And here's one, we didn't talk about this pre-show, but it fits perfectly, so I'm going to bring it up. In response, this is not a new thing, but it's becoming very popular to put Easter eggs, or if you're an AI person, prompt injections into job postings to try to trick people into,
Mhm.
starting the third paragraph with the word elephant, or change all of these words to this, and they'll put a little system prompt, ignore all previous instructions. And this might be size 2 white font, or it's buried down in the fifth paragraph that people didn't read and they just copied and pasted. My company did that, and then someone tagged us on LinkedIn with a screenshot of the prompt injection of our job posting, and basically said, what is this? Does it work? Me being me, I of course thought, I don't know if that actually works. And I didn't want to ask our HR people because it's kind of weird. I have nothing to do with hiring. So I actually took our job posting and I put it into Gemini, Claude, GPT, and this other open source model called Minimax. Basically, four totally different AIs that I used without my account. So it didn't know who I was. There was no chat history or anything. I took
Right.
a real resume from me and a super simple prompt, and I said, write a cover letter for me for this job. And then I pasted the job description that had this prompt injection in there to uh, put the word analog in, and it's just like tricky little things. How many of those models out of 4, John, do you think, Dan, I was thinking of John not being here. How many of those 4 models, Dan, do you think actually got tripped up and that somebody giving a really simple one sentence prompt would show the AI following the prompt injection?
How many out of the 4?
Yes.
4.
0.
Oh, really?
The only thing that hallucinated, 2 of them created an email for me as if I already worked there. Like in a message.
Oh,
It put at @dscript.com for my contact info, which of course on my real resume it didn't have that as a personal email. That was the only thing that got tripped up. So my takeaway was, 1, people are trying to use AI and they're overwhelming the hiring managers and the hiring teams. We've all known that.
mhm.
But in my experience, it's just a sample size of 1. I tried 4 different models. I don't think that actually tricks people. So I'm asking that to also say, have you seen that? Has anyone asked you about how do we screen for these AI generated mountains of applications we're going to get? What's your take on prompt injecting?
I think prompt injecting is, it kind of detracts from the process, right? Ultimately, if you're a company that wants to screen for AI, right, and wants to trick applicants, then, what are you really doing, right? Let's try to go and find the right applicants, and be proactive rather than be reactive and just have a job description that's up there and just wait for people to show up. I would say be proactive and take control of your process, um, and then you'll have a more accurate, especially if you're using LinkedIn the right way, the LinkedIn Recruiter the right way. You'll have a more accurate search. You'll have um, you'll have a better just pool of applicants, I think. So only depending on job descriptions and job applications. That's, I think, uh, it's presumptuous, really, that you're going to get good applicants. And
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it, right? And so to that end, um, I'm a recruiter, right, and a headhunter, and I've been speaking to colleges lately, and many colleges are actively teaching their students to use AI and AI agents, right, to spam out a ton of applications. And so I think that's um it's like a nuclear war. It's all going to come to a head at one point. It's like an arms race, right? And so I think there's a little bit of dishonesty on both sides, right? But and then the next level up is these colleges that are teaching their students, right? Their career placement offices are actively teaching their students to use AI agents to spam out, and I think it takes away from what the real value is of education and the power of networking, right? And being able to tell a story, right? And we've talked a lot on the show of how important it is to tell stories. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think fundamentally one thing AI is killing is any advantage you used to get from volume no longer exists.
Right,
My day job's
right.
marketing. That used to be the SEO, blogging, social, like just post a lot and it'll be better. That is becoming not only an ineffective strategy, but detrimental. I see that personally every day with my own work and some other colleagues that I have. So, with job applications, what I would say to the college student is there's nothing wrong with using an AI agent. That's like saying use the internet. My question is, for what
Right,
purpose? How are you using it?
right.
If it's to spam 800 applications, that is futility. That feels like you're accomplishing something. I would use it to search up networking events or build a personal CRM
Mhm.
of who you know in which city, at which company, who your dad used to work with, like some sort of a connection tool instead of us spamming this out, because the volume game is complete waste of time for everybody on both ends. So like you said, it turns into an arm race, but it's all unnecessary. I do want to talk about ways to stand out, though. So say you are one of the hundreds or thousands of applicants. I know you have an example of a job that had some overwhelming demand, and I don't really know how that worked
Oh,
out. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was one of my clients that had a handful of jobs in this one department, and they're all relatively similar. So they, kind of like a junior and a middle and a senior, and they posted them. They put them out on LinkedIn. And they said, "All right, let's see what we can get." And they had 30,000 applicants in 2 days for these three jobs. So they so of course the recruiter, what are they going to do, right? Like how could they handle that? So they were literally picking at random applicants to look at, like without any kind of vetting or um and they did say we tried to review some of the resumes and applications, and they all looked amazing. So they just started picking at random. So and then they said, "Oh, you know what? Can you just help us?" And so that was how they came to me.
yeah, and
So it's very
how
tough to
you
stand out.
stand out when apparently people are so overwhelmed with applications they don't even look. A human eye doesn't even
Right.
open a file or look at your first line. That to me is difficult. But the example I wanted to share, it wasn't 30,000 applicants. I'm sure it was in the hundreds for a role. I saw a really cool project, and the name for this, when I've talked to other people, I didn't come up with it. I'm just repeating it as a permissionless project. It's kind of like, if I already work there, here's something that I would do or build for you, or how I would
Mhm.
change something.
Yep.
But this was a developer type role, so they're, coding, engineering. They actually built a plugin for the product that the company makes, and then made a video demoing it and said, "This is just me playing around in my free time. I don't even work here, but check out what I built." And it was really cool. It integrated with, we could call it like a Chrome plugin in your browser.
Mhm.
That's not what it was, but the same idea. Like, you built a little app that
Right.
added some functionality. I guarantee nobody else in the pile, let's say 500 people applied. I guarantee nobody else, A, built something like that, and B, made a little demo video showing it off. Like, here's what it is and how it works and how I built it. That to me, as long as you could get a human to open that. So if it's 30,000 people, I guess you just got to hope they randomly picked. But for everybody else, if you at least get 5 seconds of someone's eyes, you go, whoa, what is
Oh,
this? And you stand out. So I love that idea of a permissionless project that just shows, if I'm doing this for free on a weekend, hoping I get a job, wait till you give me a salary and health insurance and you'll see what I can build.
yeah. I wonder, how long did it take them to build, right? But they obviously had the creativity kind of built into how they do things, intellectual curiosity, right? Being able to figure out a problem or figure out that kind of, that way to demonstrate their skills, right? Custom, right? It's super custom, and I think that's a great example of using your emotional intelligence, right? Because no AI is going to figure that out for you,
Well, and an AI is probably not going to give you the idea. They could have used AI to build
right?
it. I have no idea. It actually doesn't matter, at least not to me,
Right.
because the AI didn't nudge the person, hey, you should apply, and then you should also build them this thing. I'll help you do it. That's not how that went. Um, they don't take initiative like that. They just respond to the prompt and the idea that the human had. So, yeah, I think that's cool. It's like, and non-technical people can do that too. I could probably vibe code that. Now that I've seen that, I go, oh, I never would have thought of that, but I could point Claude at it and tell it what I want and come up with something similar. So I thought that was the best way I've seen. If it's so good, the hiring manager shares it outside of the hiring committee to
Right.
show off, look what this applicant did. Whatever that is, if it gets them to put it in the all company Slack or something, or email everyone, it
Right.
works, at least for now, until everybody else is doing it.
It would be cool to see if that person gets hired, right? And then they and see what kind of work they do after that, right? And it would be a great story. It's like a origin story, right? Oh, and it could be a villain origin story, which would be also funny. Like, how that person went from, a water farmer on Tatooine to become, a Jedi Knight, right? So that story arc, I think, is much more interesting than the actual product itself.
Yeah. Plus, say you get hired there, day one, you're now the Chrome extension lady. You're the Raycast
Right.
integration guy. Like, you already have a cool story. You're not just some new guy we hired in this department. People know who you are. You have a reputation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good branding, right? It's really good branding.
Yeah.
So, so that type of story though, right? Making content about the story, which is what we're doing here a little bit today. But I think for that person, it's also a good idea for that person to then brag about that, kind of publicly, right?
Yeah.
So that it's a long game branding type of exercise.
And I have no idea if this person's active on LinkedIn. They should be. But there's the obligatory new role update that LinkedIn pushes out, and you'll get a lot of impressions
Mhm.
and comments from people. Then it would be cool. What I would tell them a month later, like, you're on the health insurance plan, you got a laptop login, you're good. Make a post about how you did the thing to get that job. And you could even repost your
Yeah.
initial post with the video or the copy above it.
Yeah. Yeah. That type of stuff is, the underlying theme is evergreen, right? It's, something that everybody can learn from.
Yeah. And it's a valid use of AI and technology versus whatever college advisors or high school counselors are telling people to use AI to play a volume game. We don't always know what the right or best thing is, but we can say when something isn't going to work. That's a guaranteed way to end up being frustrated and not getting the results you want.
Yeah.
That I know.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of students, right? With FutureProof U, we've had a lot of students that have come to us and they're frustrated and they feel a little bit lost, right, with their job search because they get ghosted or they think they get ghosted, right? That's the other thing too, right? It's the other side of the equations. You send out all these applications. Oh, nobody's getting back to me. Well, maybe your process is broken,
Yeah.
right? And are you networking? I actually asked that to somebody the other day. Well, how much networking have you done? None. Well, there you go. If you're continuing to, scratch that itch, get that dopamine hit of sending out 1,000 applications and you're getting zero results, what does that tell you? So,
Yeah. It's 1 in 100 is not your shot. If you know somebody there, you're going to get a look. I had a friend applied a big company on his own, got nothing back. And then he reached out to someone in his network who happened to work there and said, "Hey, I applied, I didn't hear back. Could you refer me for the same job? It's still open." Next day, "Hey, your first round interview is like a few days away." And that was
it's
part of
great.
their screening mechanism. What they started doing, to his understanding, is if you don't get a referral from someone at the company, we don't interview you. Rather than,
Oh,
pick
yeah.
one out of the pile of 1,000 or somehow use
Right.
tools to do it. They're just like, if you don't know someone who works here well enough to get a referral, we don't look at your application.
Yeah. It's how you get from the big pile of applicants to the little pile, right? That's all you really want, right? Is to have a shot.
And if you have a 0% shot at an application, doing it 10,000 times, you still get 0%. That's why the volume game doesn't matter. Like, I'm not a mathematician, but I know that anything times zero is zero. And you might only have two places you can get a referral, but if you have a 50% shot, accidental balloons there. If you have a 50% shot at two, you have way better odds of getting an interview and getting a role than you have
Oh,
a
absolutely.
0% shot on 1,000 applications that your AI agent wrote for you.
Did I ever tell you the story about my 0 for 200 experience? 0 for 200. And this is in 1990, 36 years ago. I had been an intern at a firm, and I was playing third base on the company softball team. And I went back to the same company and I said, hey, I would love to have another internship. And I'd been there for a couple of years already. I'd love to have another internship. Are you guys, where are you guys hiring for interns? And I had already been through 2 different departments. And they said, oh, no, we canceled the intern program this summer, so sorry, we don't have a room for you. I thought, well, all right, I don't know what to do here. And so I went to the stationery store and I got 200 envelopes. I got 400 pieces of paper. I made 200 copies of my resume, made 200 cover letters, and I sent it out to 200 firms. That's stamps, licking the envelopes, 1990, old school way of doing things. And it was at every firm on Wall Street. And I went 0 for 200. 0 for 200. And I know this because I bought 200 envelopes. And I had 0, and most of them were no responses. So then I was wondering what I should do. And I called my friends back at the company, and I said, hey, I can't play, third base for you because I don't have an internship. And they said, no, you should just come anyway. Come to the game anyway. We'd love to see you. So I went to the first game, and they said, well, we need you to play third base because we don't have enough players. So I get out there. I brought my glove, and I get out there. The pitcher was the head of sales. And so he goes, hey, you're back with us for another summer. And I said, actually not, because the intern program was canceled. And he goes, I will call you tomorrow morning. And I'm like, there's no way the head of sales for this Wall Street firm is going to call me. He's going to remember to call me the intern. Well, the next morning at 8 a.m., I'm in college, so my mom woke me up and said, somebody's trying to call you. And there it was, just kind of waking up, and he goes, hey, what are you doing today? So, oh, nothing, looking for a job. And he goes, come by about noon today. I think I might have some things for you to do. And that's how I got that internship, working for him in sales.
Yeah. So the softball game that cost you nothing was
that's right.
Exponentially more valuable than the stamps, the letters, the printed out resumes, the hours of mailing it, which is basically just the AI spam version of stuff today.
AI
if you would have hired a VA to do all the letter writing for you, you could have written 1 million. You would have got 0 responses.
That's right. So yeah, 0 for 200 or 1 for 1.
Yeah. Well, it's a great lesson. So people who have the trying to career pivot or student just getting out of school looking for their first real role, there's the lesson. The mechanics and the technology of how you disseminate that is different in 2026, but the fundamental lesson is the same. Being personable and connecting is way more valuable than just high volume reach out.
Yeah, or being able to make the throw from third to first.
I was going to say, you must have handled some good line drives at third base or stolen some base or something too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were encouraging you should come to the game. And I think the personal exercise of saying yes and, right, and improving, say, yeah, I'm going to just come anyway, even though there may not be a spot for me on the field. to play a position, or and there's no, in my mind, there was no chance of getting a job there or an internship, but I still went.
Yeah.
And so be present, go to those events, go to the networking events, be in front of people. So I think the networking is extremely valuable.
Yeah. Great lesson to end on. Well, if you want more of this, we have futureproof-yu.com as our website, where there are blog posts, articles that we've written, the rest of our videos on YouTube and podcast episodes you can listen to. We have a LinkedIn page for FutureProof U, and you can follow Dan, John, and myself on LinkedIn as well. But good luck to everybody out there who's looking to stand out in the pile. Hopefully you can find a way to be personable and connect, and don't just get sucked into this. Use your AI to spam high numbers of things, because you will strike out 200 times out of 200, just like Dan did. I am your co-host, Aaron, joined as always by Dan Yu. Thanks for joining, everybody. Have a great one.